So I'm down in my shop um, back in southern Ontario. I still haven't quite finished the ceiling up, putting the pine up on the ceiling. I have a few more boards. I got tired. My shoulders were sore, and I just said, okay, I just had to come home, take a break. But in the meantime, we're trying to work on getting stuff ready for the bathroom downstairs. So hopefully, before it gets really cold, we get a bathroom in. And the other thing that's going to be really important is a staircase, because going up and down that ladder um, is kind of a little tiring, but mostly it's kind of dangerous just to be going up and down a ladder constantly. So I'm here. I've got a bunch of wood that I have. I have a my parents lived in a bush, like in a forest, and there was a twister that had come through and knocked trees over and snapped the top of the tree, some trees off. So I logged it. Now, it's quite a few years ago. Um, Boy, 40 years ago makes me, it could, I don't know, maybe 30 years ago, something like that. Yeah, kind of makes me feel older, but, so I still have a lot of that wood left, and I don't have enough for the stringers. The stringers are what goes down on each side of the stair. Um, the stairs are going to be one step up to a landing. I need 14 rises, 14 risers, and that means 13 treads. So the first rise is going to be up on a landing from the hallway, and then there'll be 13 rises from the landing upstairs. And then that means there's 12 treads that I need. So since I have a lot of ash, I decided to use ash, and I want to use the ash for the treads, and that's what I'm working on now. Like, there's one of the boards there. I'm not making them out of single pieces of wood. I'm laminating pieces of wood together, and I'm going to videotape a little bit of this, just so you can get an idea of how stairs are put together. I'm not a stair maker by any means. I've made stairs, and I know a lot about how to make them. They're tricky because a stair rise has to be very accurate, because if it's out by 1/8 of an inch or like 3 or 4 millimeters, you'll trip on the stairs all the time, because your body kind of feels when it's going up the stairs or down the stairs where the next tread is exactly, and if one tread is different than another one, it can make you trip. The other thing is that they have to be put together properly so that they don't start creaking after a while and get weak. I mean, you're really building them to last 100 years, right? So, or longer, indefinitely. So right now, I'm since I don't not sure where I'm going to get the stringers from. I have a sawyer up in where I'm building the cabin, who has some pieces for me, but it's just getting them down here, getting them dried out and dressed. Dressed means planing them down so that they're straight and smooth. So I might look for something here, although right now what I'm working on is I'm going to be laminating most of the treads. In the end, it's going to be painted. So I'll be laminating them together and getting all the treads done. And then there's the risers I'll have to make eventually here also. And then whenever I get the material for the stringers. I'll lay the stringers out and figure out how I'm going to cut the, you got to kind of cut grooves out to slide the treads in. And then the treads get wedged from underneath. And that's how they get kind of locked in place and don't creak ever. I believe that's the way I'm going to go. So I'm going to do some videotaping down in my shop, and then you guys can kind of see how I do the woodworking part of it. Back at my house in Southern Ontario, I've brought back the 2 pieces of ash, so they're going to be the stringers. They're quite long, they're 13 feet long, and it was cut by the sawyer where we're building the cabin. He lives in the town pretty close by. The I have a moisture meter here. You can read that. I get the camera to go front ways on that. So I have a fan going there as often as I can, and I'm trying to get the moisture down. See, it's over 30%, but at least after being down here for a week, the needle on my moisture meter isn't banging on the top. Now here's another piece of this is how the best way to compare it. Here's another piece of oops, and see, that's what the moisture meter should be reading. It's about 12% moisture content. Just brought in a bunch more lumber or ash for my pile outside. Just make sure that you can see that there. It's a little bit wet. Not wet, but the moisture content is going to be a bit higher because it's been outside. It also it was also really heavy. And the old ticker doesn't work very well anymore, so yeah, I get out of breath getting this stuff in here. The next thing I'll be doing is sorting through it. You have to look for any cracks, like any checks that are happening, to make sure that's not going to be in a stair tread. You have to make the stairs are going to be 3 feet wide, so I'm cutting all the treads to 3'6" in length, because my thickness planer, which is right there behind the stool, they have snipe at the end, which means when the board goes through, it kind of lifts up at the end, and then the ends are usually bad. You usually have to cut them off anyways. You square it up. So what I do is I want to try to get gluing started as soon as possible, because I'm probably just going to glue one tread at a time, just because of limited space down here. So if I can straighten one side and one edge and glue 2 pieces together. When you glue 2 pieces of wood together, you got to kind of look at the grain to make sure the grain kind of goes in opposite directions, not in the same direction, because wood moves differently. I think I have a video about that. So I got to kind of sort through my wood, and I think I'm going to straighten a few pieces out, and then at least get gluing, and then from there on, maybe go through my whole pile there and see what kind of wood I can get out of it. All right, that's it for now. So I'll show you the that was the pile that I had before. I realized I kind of had to partially dress both sides of it, so I get a better idea of what I was working with. The ash that I have has a lot of knots in it and isn't the greatest. I don't know, it must have been I must have cut all my thick pieces from like the best parts of the bottom of the tree, and then cut this is like 5/4, which is 5/4 of an inch. That's the kind of lingo you use when you talk about the wood. This is, can't get that out now. This is what it looks like before it's dressed, and then as you're dressing it down, you get that until eventually you'll get this, right? I still have to do more on this side. I just started it. I don't know if I should, okay, I guess I'll quickly explain how you dress wood down. So what you do is you start with the concave side of the wood. Let's see that there, and it goes down the table, and then goes over the cutting knives, and then you do that until you get a side that's flat, or flat enough that it will go through. See, like that's flat enough there, that piece. So it'll go through the thickness planer, which is this big guy here. It's I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. And I have my dust extraction back there. So yeah, so I decided to go through so I can get a better look. I don't know if I have to put each of these pieces through. Probably bore the hell out of you to watch that. But what I can do is maybe I'll put a couple of pieces through now, and then go through my pile and try and get an idea of I go back to the joiner and I'll straighten one edge, match it up to another piece of wood to make about 10 inches wide, because the depth of my so the depth of my rise is, I kind of forgot, it's 8 5/16 of an inch about. It's actually 8 1/3. You try and figure that out. And maybe I should have used metric. Anyways, so that's the depth, and then you add a nosing to that, which is kind of like an overhang. So when you're stepping down a step, your heel has a place to go without banging on the back of the step. So you can, and then that makes the tread wider. So an 1 1/4 is kind of an 1 1/4 to 1.5 inches. So I'm gonna rough kind of glue everything. So what I'll be doing is I'll be taking 2 pieces of wood, gluing them together to make 10 inches or more, then put it back through the thickness planer and make sure it's flat, and then I will edge one side, cut it in the table saw, which is this guy here, a 5 horsepower table saw, and then take the edges onto the joiner again until they're smooth, and then depending on what thickness I have, I'll probably put a nosing on afterwards, which is kind of like something that the riser or the kickboard will fasten to. So anyways, I'll do this one board for you so you can kind of see how this works. Hang on. It gets pretty noisy. quieter. Wow, it's still noisy. Okay, so that's what I get to do. Like I said, I kind of dress it down a little bit more so I can get a better look at the wood, because it's a lot of damaged pieces and stuff, and knots and stuff and cracks that I want to make sure don't end up in the stairs. So I'm going to go through this pile, and if I don't have to put it through the thickness planer again, then I will go to the joiner and I'll start assembling pieces together. Okay. So I have these two pieces here. And I do a little bit of adjusting on my joiner. But I found that I've got like 10.5 inches. I got some nice grain in here. And it's a small little crack there, but that might not be a really big issue. Now, one of the things I like to do when I glue these together is I like to kind of make a mark. So when I'm doing the glue up, I'll set the boards up, line them up together. The trying to figure out where the grain direction is on some of these is difficult, because it seems to, like this one, definitely the center of the tree is down, but I had a really hard time on the other one. I can get this up here. Being able to tell, okay, well that one's definitely up, so that these are going in opposite directions, which is good. Okay, I'm gonna glue it up, and then I'll probably videotape again once I got, I'll be putting these through, after they're glued, through the thickness planer, very slowly, until I get them all flat, all the same thickness. And then they'll go through my table saw and I'll get them dimensioned front to back. And then the width I'll also dimension then. Like I said, these are about 3'6" wide, so I'll be cutting this off here. And the cracks there. So I need probably about 34.5 inches in total width of the treads. All right. So this is the next tread, and right now I have the wood, I think it's 1 3/16. Never went to metric because my, about 1 1/8. I can't see the numbers that well. So you just put the board together and make sure that it fits tight. Also look for, there's a knot there that's not going to be good, and that's not bad. These checks here. So usually what I like to do is when I set it up, I think I might have done this before, is I'll look at the grain, go that way just a touch more. Yeah, there. Let's just make a line. So when I'm gluing up, I don't have a lot more things to work. I don't have things to worry about, like how am I going to line it up. It's already lined up for me, and then all I got to do is get the clamps to kind of go on. The other thing I'm finding is this ash here is, because it's sat for so long, it's not too long. No such thing as too long, unless it's rotten. It's really picked up a nice hue and color. Pretty amazing. I kind of feel bad making it into stair treads. Should have made furniture out of it. But I need stair treads now, not furniture. So, yeah, I'll move the camera over here in a second. So, it'll look better once it's wet. Like once it gets finish on it, because it brings the grain out better. Gluing up's another tricky thing because you want to make sure you get, part of the reason to getting a lot of glue on is so that it doesn't dry. Sometimes you can have a project and the glue gets too dry on it, and okay, so the first tread glued up. So you want to make sure that you glue both sides. My pencil lines are matched up. It does try to slide around a lot. There, I'm not giving you the thumbs up, but God gave us thumbs so we could spread glue nicely on our woodworking projects. You just pour some glue on there and smooth it out nice with your thumb. Works perfect. I kind of clamp it like on both sides. One of the things you always should be doing is you always ought to be putting a straight edge on. Sometimes the there we are, there's the straight edge. Sometimes the angle of the fence of the joiner isn't perfect. Now I got my first piece glued up, and I'm gonna go and get a couple of pieces sorted out, so I'm ready to go with the next one. And then this is going to take days to do. Like I can only do so many at a time. I only have so much room. And then when they're dry, I scrape off the excess glue, put them through my thickness planer again, like very slowly. Make sure, and it should come out nice and flat, and I'll get them all a uniform thickness then, and then I'll cut them to the right length and width. Okay, so I've given this a chance to dry. I should put my grippy gloves on. I find clamping to be kind of hard on my hands. Speaking about clamps, anyone wanting to ever get into woodworking, one of the things that you can never buy too many of are clamps. I have a ton of Bessey clamps. Which as far as I know are probably the best clamps you can buy anywhere. Different types of Bessey clamps for cabinet making and making stairs. So yeah, it's definitely, I've bought these clamps over the years, you know, because it's probably a few $1,000s in clamps altogether by the time you add them all together. And it's a lot of expense to come up with all that in one. So every time I would see a sale on clamps, I would get clamps. Thing is, for what I do, I mean, you need the clamps, right? And I have lots. Anyway, so that's the piece there. The glue still wet on top. I'll just let it finish drying. It takes about 20 minutes for the glue to set. I've let this sit here for a couple hours, and I wouldn't work it I wouldn't work it in the thickness plane or anything until it had overnight to dry. And I have to scrape all the glue off, make sure it's nice and flat because you know, I wouldn't want to damage it. Give me an idea. Clamps I have. So that's along with a lot of my other projects. Come on, focus. Does it matter? There we go. The wooden clamps aren't Bessey clamps. They're a different type of clamp, but they're like, that's really good for doing fine things, guitar making. I have the orange ones that are great for cabinet making. I have clamp pieces like for doing squares, spring clamps down in the bottom there. And then there's the clamps that I was using just now. And I have other clamps that probably kind of showed up in the other video, but I also made kitchen cabinets. And I got a lot of junk in the way here, but these are some of my longer Bessey clamps for, that's more cabinet ones. These ones up there, and then the ones that are kind of behind the shelves there, they're all for putting cabinet boxes together. Like I said, it's a lot of money in clamps, but you know, made kitchens and sold cabinets, and they don't really depreciate in value. So I'm gonna do a glue up of the next piece here. Okay, wasn't going to be deep enough. This way. Yeah, the other thing about gluing too is you want to move fast. Nope. See, the glue squeezing out will make this move around, which is causing me all kinds of problems here. Yep, it's doing it there. Slide it back that way. And eventually it's going to grab. So just to make sure that these are even, you can take a hammer, put a piece of block underneath it. Seems to be even. Check down at this end. Still a little bit. There. So it's not moving off the line now because it's starting to grip. Flat there. Good there. And good there. I'm a little bit off. But so if I were to put all these clamps on one side here, I'd end up, it tends to kind of pull the board up. So the smart thing to do is to go intermittently, one on one side, one on the other. Now these clamps here are more or less the ones I like to use on things like stairs where it takes a lot of pressure, but I can use either of them. Doesn't really matter. You also want to make sure the glue should be squeezing in on both sides, that there's no gaps in there. That lets you know that it's it's tight everywhere. Okay, I'm gonna lay this thing back down again. These can get kind of dangerous too because they do get awfully heavy. With all the clamps on there. And then take your straight edge. Put your straight edge down. Yeah, I'm a little bit off there. And I'm perfect there. So I don't know why I'm off here. So what I'll do to try and correct that is take a clamp more towards the top half of this. That's still off. And that's not completely flat. I don't know what happened. It's not too bad. Why is that off there? That's odd. I'll try and get this to go in it. Pull these boards together. Seems to be that's what's causing that could be causing the thing to move, is that for some reason Yeah, it's still off a bit. Okay, I got it. Now the next really important thing is to leave it alone. Just, this is when I leave the shop. I don't touch it. I don't look at it. I got it flat. Leave the shop. Come back in a couple hours or an hour from now and glue up the next one.